Hey yo, Ollytobblez here. Um, all of my audio for this episode corrupted. Yeah, there might be some blank spots where someone's talking and then nothing else happens. I'm Soz. Welcome to the Weird Shack, the podcast that explores the weird and spooky. I'm your host, Ollytobblez, with my co-hosts Rhysgy,
What is on?
Ceige,
Hello.
and Jordanwithstick. And today we're talking about cursed items.
Yeah, boy. Right, I'll get straight on with it. So, my first cursed item I'm going to be doing about is the Curse of the Crying Boy paintings. Any of you heard of the curse of this?
Yeah.
Not that I can think of, no.
Yeah. I've heard this
Ideal.
before. Isn't
Bit of a
it
backstory
sometimes called the
then
Blue
first.
Boy?
So, the Crying Boy
Or is that a different
painting
thing?
was originally painted by an Italian painter known as, bear with me with the pronunciation, Bruno Amarillo, and his pen name that was signed on the original painting was Giovanni Bragolin. The painting was mass-produced and widely distributed from the 1950s and onwards. That's when it was obviously first mass-produced, etc. So the beginning of the curse, the story itself goes, on September 4th, 1985, the British newspaper The Sun published a story about a couple, Ron and May Hall, whose house had burnt down. The fire was due to a chip pan. That's what the sources, the firemen, basically say. It's basically like a deep pan filled with oil that you deep fry your chips in.
It's like you're telling me your family never had like the chip fryer sort of thing, which was just a pan of hot oil. Missing out, they were like the crunchiest, best chips ever.
Yeah,
my grandparents used to boil not boil. What's the word? Deep fry. They used to deep fry everything. They had like a little deep fryer. They used to always use that, and it stank the whole fucking place up.
Yeah, it does tend to get a bit stinky, but the taste is worth it.
It is, yeah.
Right. Gotta wipe the grease off your ceiling every so often, but it's worth it.
Right, I'll continue. So, the Crying Boy painting, which Ron and May had in their home, had survived the fire whilst the house was left in ruins. Ron and May blamed the fire on the painting, not the fact that they had left a chip pan on.
We always leave chip pan on. Chip pans never started fire before.
At the time, a fire station officer, Alan Wilkinson, said he knew of other cases where a house is burned down and only the paintings survived, the Crying Boy paintings. A photo accompanying the story showed the Crying Boy painting with a caption that read, "Tears for Fears, the portrait that firemen claimed is cursed." That was obviously a tabloid that The Sun ran at the time. The Sun apparently received many calls the next day from readers. One of these callers, named Dora Mann, said her house burnt down just 6 months after she bought a Crying Boy painting. All of her paintings, except the Crying Boy, were destroyed.
So was she a door or a man?
When I first read about this, I read it as Dora the Explorer for some reason. So. That's true, yeah, like real painting tears. Another said that all three of her sons and her husband had died since she bought a Crying Boy painting in 1959. The Sun's story was a big success, and many readers actually sent in their paintings after the Sun offered to take them off of their hands for free. So
that was just the Sun trying to get rich quick.
I think so, yeah.
Get all the paintings and then sell them off again.
The Sun had roughly 2,300 paintings in their offices, and with the help of their page 3 models, they burned all the paintings on a large bonfire. So it must have been quite a public spectacle to have these scantily dressed ladies burning portraits or paintings and whatnot. Rumours about the painting wouldn't die, however. A story had spread that the crying boy was originally a Spanish street urchin named Don Benillo, whose parents had perished in a fire. No one would take Don in because wherever he stayed, fires would start. Not
Wherever he stayed, there was in the fireplace. They always started fires in the fireplace.
Nobody seemed to take on the hint that he was a bit of an arsonist, I suppose. An artist who painted him had his studio burned down mysteriously. Then years later, a charred corpse was discovered in the ruins of a car. The name on the license plate at the time was Don Benillo.
Yeah.
In 2010, BBC radio presenter Steve Punt attempted to burn a crying boy painting on his show, but the flame wouldn't spread. He concluded that the paint must have fire retardant properties in the mixture. And that's basically as much as I could find on that curse. I actually watched the video, the YouTube video of the Steve Punt attempting to burn it, and it sort of, if I remember correctly, it sort of ignites, but it doesn't actually do anything at all. Then it just sort of dies down and doesn't spread. No, it was. They were all mass-produced from an original painting of a crying boy.
I've heard of this before, and basically, it was just this craze at the time that this painting was very popular, and every fucking person had this painting. And then, then there was like fires happening. They're like, "Oh, it was the painting," and just because everyone fucking had them, it's like, yeah, fires happened in all the houses with the paintings, but also a lot of murders happened in houses that happened to have the painting because everyone fucking had the painting.
Yeah, it was in the UK. Yeah. It is an actual thing that the Sun did an article on, etc.
Fucking Sun, mate. I've heard of it before. I heard about it on the Ricky Gervais podcast, actually.
Oh, did Ricky Gervais talk about it, did he?
Yeah.
Quick question to do with the paintings. Were they all actually like painted, or were they like just
prints?
Like prints of it?
Yeah, they were prints basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
they were just prints.
What happened to the original one? Did that ever like get into a fire and actually burn to a crisp?
It was
it
the one
just
that
the
started the fire.
prints which caused it all?
From new different like websites I've read across, there's no exact location from what I've been able to tell, but most websites seem to point out that it's basically in Italy. So
someone thought it was one of the fucking prints and burnt it.
Yeah,
Not
but
realised it was
I
natural.
couldn't find its exact location or where it's stored, etc. Now, so who knows? Who knows, mate?
Yeah, because it would be interesting to see whether it is just the prints which are doing it, because then it could be down to what they've like printed.
Could be,
sort of thing.
I think it's just coincidence because everyone had the painting, and then one person decided to blame it on the painting because they recently got the painting before their fire, and then everyone started doing it. It's like one of those crazes, isn't it, where like this weird trend starts and everyone wants to get on the bandwagon and get involved.
Yeah, but then it started because like, well, these people having fires. It was one of the pictures which didn't get, burnt to a crisp from the fires.
Yeah, probably because it was made out of like shitty materials.
Not even the fire wanted to touch it.
Well,
Probably
it could
asbestos or some shit.
Yeah, exactly. It was mass produced, so, and like I think like everyone had it. I'm pretty sure I've seen them before.
I've seen only on Google Images the actual painting. It's why the hell you'd want that in your house, I
It's
would
just
never
like
understand.
a sad-looking boy, isn't
Yeah, well, there's different like variants of it. There's one where he's like crying with loads of hands behind him as well for some reason.
it?
It's like, why? Why do you want that in your house?
The crying boy, yeah.
But in regards to like all these mass-produced copies not burning, I couldn't find any information on the company that basically printed them. But my guess is, was that the only painting in the UK at the time that actually used fire retardant properties in its mixture or something like that? Did all other paintings that were burned in these houses just not have any fire retardant properties? It's a bit weird. Like,
I just looked up the picture. It says that the prints were treated with varnish containing fire retardant, and the string holding the painting to the wall would be the first to deteriorate, resulting in the painting landing face down the floor and thus being protected.
makes sense, yeah.
Yeah.
What about all the other
No
pictures, though?
explanation was given as to why no other paintings were turning up unscathed.
Yeah. But,
Yeah, I reckon it could just be like a mass-produced thing. It used a new method of varnish that like other paintings hadn't been using before, and then that's why it survived. But I don't know.
Did you want me to go on to the next one, or did anybody have any more questions?
How would you rate the painting personally, Chris? Out of 10. Do you think it's a good painting?
Definitely won't have it on my wall.
Would you hang it on like the back of your bathroom door so when you're taking a shit you can look at it?
I mean, it definitely made me shit myself a lot quicker. I'd like hang it on somebody's door as a prank sort of thing when they come home and they just come to that painting staring them blank in the face. No, if I was to rate it 0 to 10, 10 being the worst and 0 being the utmost worst, it'd definitely be a 0.
Fair. Fair one.
Right, I'll move on to the next item that I've got. Has anybody ever heard of the statue of the woman from Lem?
Nope.
Ideal then. So in 1878, a small statue carved from pure limestone was discovered in Lem in Cyprus. The statue is dated from around 3500 BC. There is no details about who discovered it, and there's also no evidence of any archaeological records at the time of its discovery. Just a general consensus that it was discovered in 1878. At this time, the statue is considered to be a fertility statue or a crude depiction of an unknown goddess, but regardless of its origins, like all other cursed items, this one does have a dark reputation, and has at some point since its discovery earned its name, the Goddess of Death. And I'll let you guys use your imaginations probably why it's earned that, but here you are. So 4 families are reported to have lost members in connection to the statue. Lord Elephant was the first owner.
Fuck off. Was he? Oh yeah, the big grey guy with the long nose. Yeah, I know.
I probably butchered his name.
He's got really fucked up teeth, hasn't he? They come out past his nose. Yeah, I've seen him. Nice guy.
So Lord Elephant, the first owner, was the first owner during the time that Cyprus was a British colony. Within 6 years of owning the statue, he and 6 members of his family passed away. There's no further details about how he passed on the statue, or if he sold it, or if it was lost or anything. The next unfortunate owner, bear with me with this guy's name, Ivor Minucci, obtained the statue in Europe. You have to cut.
What the fuck was that?
You have to cut that bit out.
What the fuck?
Oh. Sorry guys, I forgot to mute my phone. Was that
Oh,
was
fucking
that
hell.
spooky though? Was that spooky?
Yeah, it was. I was like, what the fuck? Someone getting murdered in the background.
Yeah. Right. Let me redo this bit. Right. Here we go. The next unfortunate owner, Ivor Minucci, obtained the statue in Europe. In a shorter span of 4 years, he and his entire family had died. That's including his cousins, etc. The statue's third owner, which there's no details on how he came to obtain it, Lord Thompson Nod and his immediate family, also passed away within a few years of obtaining the statue. Over time, the location of the statue was lost until the last known private buyer, which again there's no details of how or where he obtained it. The last known private buyer was Sir Alan Biverbrook. He died along with his wife and 2 daughters over an even shorter span of time of less than 6 months. His only 2 sons were left in possession of the statue, and fearing that the statue was cursed, they quickly donated the statue to the Royal Museum in Edinburgh, Scotland. After it's put on display, the curator of the statue mysteriously died within a year of handling it.
Within a year, oh.
Within a year.
A year later, he died.
I can actually say I went to the Museum of Edinburgh. I did not see the statue. So
What's it called?
it's called the Woman from Lem statue. At least
Okay,
that's sort of the most widespread name of it. But yeah, I went to the Museum of Edinburgh, and yeah, I never actually saw the statue. But at the time, anyway, I probably wouldn't have even noticed it because yeah, I didn't know of the curse myself until I read about it. But yeah, it's
weird.
really weird. It's got like a little face on the very top of it.
It's got a bell end.
It's got like. Right, so you won't want to sit on there. I probably would, mate. But yeah, that's basically the end of that one. What do you reckon?
That's weird.
I mean, it took out some guy and his entire family line, apparently, so...
And it killed that one guy within a year.
Within a year.
Like, that's not like the next day he died, or like on the way home he died in a car crash. It's within the year.
Within a year, he died.
It's not like Annabelle, where it's like some biker laughed at her and then they died on the biking accident. It's like within a year they died. Mm-hmm.
I reckon this one's just one of those where so many stories have been made up about it, I guess. I can't imagine an entire person's family line just being offed as soon as he got possession of this statue.
Maybe it had a disease on it. Had some diseased bugs.
You never
on
know,
it
yeah.
Gave him all the plague.
See,
I
was there
COVID on
any
it.
similarities between any of the deaths of these families, or was it all just like random?
I mean, there don't seem to be any exact details on how any of them died or anything. It just seems to be very close relatives, and that one guy's family where everybody died, sort of thing, including his cousins.
At the scene of the crime, there was nothing except from a bloody statue and many people with head injuries.
Probably disrupt the space-time continuum, you know. Everyone burn mysteriously die.
Within a year.
See, was it? Fuck. What year? What year did you say it all happened in? Or what years?
Let me have a minute, bear with me. So it was discovered in 1878, but I couldn't find any years of when all these families started dying.
Okay.
So he would have had. Yeah, so
I mean,
they
there's
could
no
have-
exact years of what
Mm.
what year etc. that they died or they obtained it or
Yeah.
anything.
They all went on the Titanic together and mysteriously died. Must have been the statue.
But in regards to
Strange.
Edinburgh having it, I couldn't even find any details on their website about it, or what year they obtained the statue.
Mm.
So I think it's one of those where so many stories have been told about. It's just earned its own little myth, its own little legend.
Yeah. It is weird looking. Reminds you of like a fucking SCP or some shit like that.
Or the thing that
Right.
snaps your neck when you're not looking.
Yeah. It's that thing, yeah.
So, did you guys want me to move on to the next one?
Yeah.
Anybody heard of the Bassano vase or vase?
No, I don't think
Not that I can
So,
think of.
ideal. So many tales surround this item in regards to its origin and power of its curse. The most known tale involves a young lady whom was to wed. There are no details on her identity or her suitors. So, from what is currently known about the vase, it was a simple silver design weighing around 4 pounds and was crafted around the 15th century. This item is regarded as one of the most haunted items known to mankind. So, it probably puts Annabelle to shame, apparently.
She wasn't haunted though, mate, was she? She was possessed by demons. Very different.
Yeah, true. The origin points to a small town north of Napoli, Italy, and was given as a gift to the bride before her wedding night. That was the young lady that I mentioned about at the beginning. Some tales say that she made it herself as a wedding gift. The young woman, yeah, she made it as a gift for herself. Some tales say that, yeah.
No one's going to my wedding either. I'll make a gift for myself. I'll make it out of this cursed clay.
The young woman was never married though, as she was found dead the next morning, clutching the vase in her arms. For a bit of a sad ending there. There is no explanation for her death, but many believe it was murder. I think that's the only possible explanation during that time.
Yeah, they inspect the vase, they found out there was just whiskey in there and she just drunk herself to death out of nerves for the wedding.
So, soon after the woman was interred, the vase was passed on to a family member. Again, no details. Who also died shortly after. Pretty gruesome. It
Was that within a year?
No time details on that one. Probably. It seems to be the age where everybody was murdered.
There was a really big hermit crab in there and it came out and pinched them.
It was once again passed to another family member, with the same unfortunate ending. Another quick death almost immediately after taking possession of the vase. So this one was a lot quicker, apparently.
If you're the third person getting this fucking vase and you know that 2 people have died, why the fuck are you taking the vase?
Well, maybe, cursed items to them wasn't such a known thing, maybe. Maybe they knew of curses, but not cursed items at the time. Who knows? So, the family soon came to the understanding, there you go, that the vase was cursed and connected to the death somehow. They had the vase hidden away. Some say it was buried, while others say it was given to a priest to store away. What happened to the family after the departure from the vase is unknown. So there's no details about their names, etc.
But a year later, no one saw them ever again.
Oh, get this. The Bassano vase remained hidden until it resurfaced again in 1988. It's widely agreed upon that it was a young man who discovered the vase. That it was a young man who discovered the vase after he dug it up from an unknown location. It's also said that the vase was found with a note that read, "Beware, this vase brings death." So the warning had little effect on the man, who disregarded it. Oh Christ.
Oh, fucking hell.
Yeah, so it had little effect on them.
I wonder what's gonna happen.
No, this one ends a bit differently. So, it said that he disregarded the warning, so he threw it away, and he actually sold the vase.
Oh.
The vase was sold to a pharmacist for 4 million, at the time, 4 million Italian lire?
Yeah, liar.
Which is roughly $2.5 million at the time. Well, you know,
Cursed, mate, innit?
when you got a lot of money, mate, you want to buy spooky
Buy
stuff, I
some cursed
suppose.
shit. Oh, I've got all this money and I've been alive for too long. Let's buy a fucking cursed vase that kills people.
Well, I mean, if it's remained hidden until 1988, and he's dug it from some unknown location, well, yeah, you know.
Well, at least the person. Well,
Yeah,
if you're a Christian, you are.
nobody's gonna, you know, dig it up and think, oh, this is cursed. I'm gonna dig it up and think, cha-ching, I'm rich now.
If you're a Christian and you dig up a fossil, you're like, Satan put these bones here!
There's no details of the buyer, the seller, or the auction house where the item was sold. The pharmacist died after 3 months, and his family sold the vase to a doctor, whom himself died at the age of 37, only a few short months later. So we actually have an age there.
Oh, fucking hell. I don't know. I love these people who are like, oh yeah, I really fucking want that vase. This vase can kill people. I don't fucking care, I just really want it.
After the untimely death of the doctor, it was sold once again to an archaeologist who collected artifacts. And within 3 months, the collector died from a mysterious infection. See, that kind of makes sense. You never know, it could have been harbouring something or some rotten thing inside it, who knows.
Maybe he tried fucking the vase. And he cut himself.
He didn't use protection, mate.
The big hermit crab that lived in the vase.
So
it had a fake bottom and he was hiding in there.
So the story continues with one final sale. Information is even more scarce about the last buyer, except for the fact that he perished less than a month after obtaining the vase. So, due to the story of deaths, the vase became unsellable. And if we're to believe the stories, at this time, a family member of the last owner threw the vase out of a window in an attempt to break it and be free of its curse. Oh no, this is where it gets a bit comical.
Oh yeah, because it hasn't been comical until now, has it?
No, here we go. Although the family was spared from further tragedy, the vase nearly struck a police officer. So the officer retrieved the vase with the intention of fining the family. The family accepted the fine but refused to take the vase back. There's no details of if it broke or not. The story.
And a month later, the policeman died.
The story splits 2 ways now. So the first is the officer buried it himself in an undisclosed location after the family told him of the curse. The second is he offered it to many museums, all refusing the vase due to its known curse. Now I find that hard to believe. I would think any museum would have anything like that straight away.
Yeah,
Especially
Edinburgh didn't care.
Museums have plenty of cursed objects in them. I mean, all the Egyptian shit's in there.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah.
They got like the bodies of fucking Egyptians and shit. They don't give a fuck.
So now the vase remains unseen and hidden, with no clues as to its whereabouts and no details about its most recent owners, or if it is even owned by anybody. Going on Google, I can only see one image of the vase.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be of anything though, really. I mean,
Yeah,
it is
I was
it is
trying
of
to
a
think.
vase, but yeah. So,
Yeah, I looked it up when you said the name, and I was looking at the picture. It's just like, okay, it's the only picture.
yeah. What do you reckon of that one then?
I think a bunch of people are really fucking stupid. I mean, fucking, like, what's the death count on that vase? Like, until that one person was like, you know what? Let's get rid of this. Let's chuck it out the window. Well, actually, to be fair, someone did bury it, so they had common sense.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody buried it, put a note with it, and then the note was thrown away by some young man who just saw it for his money, and yeah.
Mm.
I don't know really. Like, with all this lack of details for it, it just makes it seem a bit But if we was to go by like what people are saying about it, then quite interesting, quite funny at points, but
Throwing it out your window sort of thing.
yeah, the only thing is, like, if he was to try and explain the deaths, what would you say was like killing them? Right? What was?
I mean,
Or just coincidence.
considering that only one of the deaths say that they died from a mysterious infection, I'd rule out the death by the vase completely. I'd just say it's all coincidence.
Yeah, because like,
Also, it could just be like an urban myth that like
Yeah.
got over exaggerated.
Yeah.
because like, if it was like, as you say, like some sort of infection or whatever caused by the vase, surely like someone had like cleaned it and whatnot, so like most things would have been off it.
Mm. Yeah, it was made
True.
with dog shit.
Although
It
the
could
the
have
guy
had some
that
radiation in it.
the guy that died from the infection was the archaeologist who collected artifacts, so he could have had
Yeah.
an untold amount of items. So
Yeah, he also had like an old mummy corpse just fucking laying around.
probably slept with it.
Yeah, that he had sex with and
Well, I wouldn't go that far. Probably just
Or
curled
just
up.
slept with it.
Well-
They only shared a bed. They didn't have relations. All right, fucking hell.
Just curled up in the coffin with it and pretended to be mummy. Right, the next one is definitely my favourite. Get this for a name: the Deathly Stoop Chair of one Thomas Busby. Anybody ever heard of the Deathly Stoop Chair?
The Deathly Stoop chair. No. But I'm looking it up.
Oh, get this. This one is in a museum that you can go and see.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like an
What-
old chair. doesn't it?
Why is it on a wall though?
Don't worry, I'll get to that. Yeah. Well, basically,
What if
yeah.
a monkey climbs up there?
Oh, I've heard of this one.
Have you heard this one? Have you?
Yeah.
Sweet. Right. Begin with a bit of a story on it. So, Thirsk Museum in Thirsk, North Yorkshire, has a strange attraction in its museum. In one of its display areas, there's an old oak chair hanging from the ceiling at the request of its owner to prevent anybody from sitting on it, including the cleaners and maintenance workers of the museum. The museum has never broken its promise to the owner in over 30 years, despite requests and even threats of legal action against it. I don't know what sort of threat of legal action you'd have against sitting on a chair.
A really angry old woman comes in. She's like, "Oh, I need to sit down." It's like, "Sorry, we don't have any chairs left." It's like, "I got one up on. Well, bring it down. Let me sit." "No, I'm sorry. That will kill you if you sit on it." "Oh, I'm taking this to court. Fuck you."
Right, the chair was rumoured to belong to Thomas Busby, a thug, thief and drunkard who lived in North Yorkshire in the later parts of the 1600s. The story goes that on the last day of Busby's life, he cursed his favourite chair, stating that any who would perch upon it would die shortly after. He was basically arrested for the murder of his wife's father, Daniel Averty.
Oh, if we had multiple wives then. Oh.
His wife's name was Elizabeth Averty. Or Averty. He was executed in 1702. Legend has it that when authorities went to arrest him, they found him sat in his favourite chair, hence why he cursed his chair that night.
He did a really bad fart and cursed it.
The chair is rumoured to have claimed the lives of over 60 people, apparently. So the first reported victim associated with the chair is a chimney sweeper who, along with his friend, sat in the chair whilst drinking one evening in 1894. So bear in mind, this chair was in this Thomas Busby's inn that he owned, and yeah, it was an original chair that was still in the inn.
So wait, so this is from the 1700s?
Now we're in 1894.
Yeah, so 200 years later, this chair's still
Yeah,
there.
apparently, yeah.
In good enough condition to sit.
Mate, you can't fault the chair, it's a beast, apparently. So the chimney sweep, being completely drunk, never made it home that night. He laid on the side of the road to sleep and was found the next morning hanging next to a gibbet. Bit brutal, wasn't it? His death was decided to have been suicide, but in 1914, on his deathbed, his friend actually admitted to robbing and murdering his friend. So, not much of a friend there. So we can deep on that death already.
But he did sit in the chair.
Well, they both sat in the chair, but yeah.
Wow. There you go.
There you go, mate. Maybe the chair compelled him to kill. During the Second World War, the pub was a popular spot for RAF servicemen. The airmen would goad each other into sitting on the chair, and any who did, their planes which they flew never returned from their missions. In 1968, a couple of years before a gentleman named Tony Earnshaw took over the pub, he overheard two airmen daring each other to sit on the chair. They both died. They both died on their return to their airfield when their vehicle that they were driving lost traction of the road and crashed into a tree. They both died on the way to the hospital. Seems
it's interesting
to be,
that it's in a place where people go to get drunk, and then weirdly drunk people accidentally get killed afterwards.
Through the early 1970s, the chair seemed to take many lives. A couple of people to note. A cleaning lady who actually knocked the chair was diagnosed with a brain tumour shortly after and died. I think that could just be all put down to a pure coincidence.
Yeah, that could just be having a brain tumour.
I don't think just bumping into a chair would cause that.
Yeah, no, she went to the doctors the day before she bumped into that chair. Went there the day after, and she had a massive brain tumour out of nowhere.
A number of cyclists and motorcyclists all suffered fatal road accidents after drinking in the pub and sitting on the chair and whatnot. A hitchhiker who spent 2 nights at the pub and sat in the chair, he was found dead. A local man who attended the pub quite often decided to sit in the chair and died hours later of a heart attack. I think that's probably just down to maybe just over embellishing on drinks a bit, maybe.
I get the feeling a lot of these are, Chris. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Huh?
Especially when people go for a drive after fucking drinking in the pub.
I don't think the laws were as strict as they are,
Mm.
but as they are now, were they? So, a group of builders having a drink at the pub convinced the youngest of the bunch, who was an apprentice, to sit in the chair. Later, whilst working, the young man fell through the roof of a building to his death. This death was the one death that convinced the new owner, Earnshaw, who I mentioned before, to store the chair in the cellar.
Yeah, all the other deaths, he was like, I'm not convinced.
The guy falling through a roof on a construction site was the one convincing death.
It's killed like 60 people. He's like, nah, I'm not convinced. I'm gonna leave it for now. It's a good chair. I mean, it's lasted fucking 300 years.
Oh man. So, next, a delivery man from a local brewery that was obviously delivering beers, etc. He was in the cellar and he sat on the chair just for a short break. He commented to Earnshaw that the chair was far too comfortable to leave in the cellar. He died that very day when his van went off the road. So another one bites the dust.
Yeah, he sat on the chair and then he drank like 10 pints of Guinness and then he was like, yeah, better drive home now.
Find it quite weird that he would comment to the owner at the time saying, that chair is far too nice, far too comfortable to leave in your cellar, mate.
What the fuck is this chair made out of? Where it can last 300 years and still be a comfortable chair.
Proper English oak, mate.
Yeah, I guess so.
Earnshaw then decided to donate the chair to First Museum in 1978, even though the chair was a popular tourist attraction. And that is where the story ends, basically. So he is a current owner, if he's still alive now anyways. But yeah, at the time he was the last owner of the chair, and that's when he decided to get rid of it then, and made him promise to hang it on the roof from the ceiling.
But he'd never sat or made contact with the chair, so he was fine.
Surprisingly, there's no actual tales of him sitting on the chair.
Yeah, he knew it kills people, but he's like, nah, fuck it, leave it here. I mean, we need chairs.
You would have thought the chair would have offed him when it, he like put it in the cellar.
Yeah, exactly, that's what I mean. Yeah, we need that chair, mate. What if 5 people come in, but we've only got a table of 4? We need that extra chair.
So, what do you guys think of that one? That's by far my favourite one. Just the name of the deathly Stoop chair was enough to get my attention on that one.
You stoop on it.
I've got no idea, to be fair.
You stoop upon it.
I do know that the inn that it was in, I think it was called the Busby Stoop Inn, if I remember correctly, but it was closed down in like 2012, from the information that I could find about it. So it was a real inn. There were like images of it in that. So
I think a lot of it was probably alcohol.
Yeah, I think so.
That led to death, especially the fact that a lot of them were driving-based deaths. Yeah, I don't know. Also, I find it crazy that a chair can survive that long in an inn. Yeah, it does not look like an over 300-year-old chair.
Well, if I remember correctly, the museum got a historian to come and try and estimate the age of the chair, and he reckons it's from around the 1800s, because the way it's produced, it uses some sort of method that wasn't known during the 1600 sort of time era.
Yeah.
So.
Didn't you say it was from the 1700s though?
Hold on, let me just have a look, double check. He was executed in 1702. The actual guy, Thomas Busby, was around the later parts of the 1600s. There's no exact age of the chair itself. So
it's apparently from the 1600s, but this guy evaluated it and was like, oh yeah, it's from the 1800s.
He only
So it could
evaluated
be
it
like
because
400 years old.
he only evaluated it at that because obviously the way it's been
Hmm.
crafted, so it used some sort of method that apparently wasn't known during the
Interesting.
16 or 1700s, I would imagine. So
I reckon this is my theory. The guy who owned the inn was like, oh, this is nice, this is a good idea. I can murder people and get away with it and blame it on a chair. So
That's a bit far-fetched.
it's a good way to get away with shit though. Just be like, oh, he did sit in that chair though. Oh yeah, my cleaner died. Yeah, the fucking cleaner doesn't do any work, and I fucking hate her. Yes, she died. Yeah, no. Yeah, she touched the chair, mate. Yeah, nothing I could have done.
Oh, don't
It's
forget,
weird that he
his
just left
cleaner
it
died
out
of a
as well.
brain tumor, apparently. So,
Mm.
but it's definitely something I'd love to go and visit if I ever go to
Yeah.
North Yorkshire.
You gotta touch the shit out of it when you get there.
I'll give it a good rub. Rub-a-dub-dub.
Give your meat a good rub.
Yeah, but
And give your stoop chair a good old rub.
yeah, but don't, like, you know, in the evenings I spend like 90% of my time in the evenings sat in a chair. So chairs aren't threatening to me unless they're diabolical or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
A crime
This
boy
chair's, like,
painted
killed-
is, you know, it looks terrifying. It looks menacing. Yeah, I don't need that staring at me.
Mm.
So the question
Chair,
is,
though.
It's weird,
Yeah.
man.
would you sit in the chair?
I'd give it a go. Yeah. I'd make sure I
Uh,
wouldn't drink any alcohol.
Yeah. I'd sit on it if it was in my bed and do the shit.
Oh.
What about you two? Would you sit in it? Or give it a go?
I don't know. I probably wouldn't, just in case.
Yeah,
So,
I'll
I mean-
volunteer to be the guinea pig.
Yeah, so from what I'm hearing here, like, Chris isn't really superstitious, Ollie's not really, like, into the cursed object thing being real. And Jordan's just like, yeah, best not, because it might be.
Well, yeah, I feel like that's the logical response, because apparently a bunch of fucking people have died and they happen to have sat in this fucking chair.
Yeah.
You can also knock it. That'll give you a brain. If you knock it, you get a brain tumor. If you sit in it, you die. The brain tumor can lead to death, but obviously, you know. So if you get the option to knock it or sit in it, knock it, because you might live.
Yeah, there's definitely a chance now because obviously we have much better medical science and whatnot. So,
Mm-hmm.
whereas the poor
That's
cleaning
fucking
lady
weird.
didn't stand a chance. So,
Yeah, I mean the fact that so many people have supposedly died from it, I wouldn't sit in it just in case. You know, I don't understand the rules of the world. This chair survived for fucking 400 years and it's still in pretty good fucking condition. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I mean,
also
Well,
it
they
was
were
in the
different
inn.
curses, though. Like, the vases was like owning it and you died. The chair is just like if you sit in it, so it's just a bit
Yeah.
safer because if you stop someone from sitting in it or touching it, pretty much, then you got nothing to worry about.
Mm. I used to work in a pub and the chairs used to break all the fucking time. So God knows how a chair survived 400 years in a pub and looks as good as that. That's the fucking thing.
yeah, it's pretty mint looking, isn't it?
Mm.
Well, a lot of
Maybe it's
things
just
were
been
meant to
restored.
last.
Maybe it's been restored
Yeah.
quite a bit, you know.
Yeah, and all the people who restored it died shortly afterwards.
I don't know if they were fixing it and making it look good. Surely,
Yeah, maybe it
whoever's causing
spared
the
him.
curse was just like, oh, I'm gonna get more victims now. Oh, they made me look nice.
Yeah, that's some curses, man. They have really good foresight for like profit margins. They're like, well, if I kill this guy now, he won't repair me, so they won't be able to kill 30 people the next year. So I better leave him.
Better leave him to his job.
That cleaning lady though never fucking cleans me. If she touches me, mate, fucking brain tumor. Fuck off.
Well, you don't know,
That's-
she
No,
might
I
have,
find
like-
I find it very hard to
Yeah,
believe.
she might have like caused a chip on it or something. You know, she
Oh,
might,
yeah, you
might,
never
she
know,
might have
yeah.
politely damaged it, and she was like, "No, fuck off, I'm getting you now, bitch."
They might have taken it personally, you know.
What happens if you get a splinter from the chair?
Oh, that,
Then if someone
that's
touches
that's
you-
punishment enough as it is. Fucking splinters are fucking horrible.
Yeah, splinters are awful.
This is how you become a superhero. You get splinters off that thing and put it in your hands. Then whenever you punch someone, they die within the short amount of time.
What would happen though if the chair sat on you?
You live forever, mate.
See, that'd be a
Immortality.
risk I'd be willing to take.
The curse is passed on, so if anyone sits on you, they die.
That's something I travel up to Yorkshire just to see.
Yeah.
Just little things like that, you know.
I think like pubs do have a lot of interesting things behind them. Like they do have a lot of interesting like ghost stories and stuff like that.
Yeah, like
I feel like that is very much the sort of thing that would happen in a pub. But then also I don't understand why the fuck anyone, especially if there's so much like proven cases of people dying from sitting in the chair, like why the fuck would you risk it? Unless you're really drunk, I guess.
Yeah, they probably just didn't know.
Sure,
They're probably that far gone.
maybe the feet.
Yeah, like is there like were there signs around it? Like yeah, maybe you don't want to sit it. Maybe
Right,
a lot of people.
yeah, I
might
don't
have died
even
of
think you
it.
put any signs up.
No,
Because
what a dick.
I'm pretty sure
If
he
anyone-
used it as a tourist attraction.
Yeah, he's the one who's the fucking blame, the owner who just left the fucking death chair out. What a dickhead.
He's got the biggest KD in history, you know.
Yeah. He was just like, yeah, no, actually, you know what, fuck it. He used to reserve that chair for the customers he really fucking hated. It would be nice to have a chair like that when I used to work in a pub, actually. You've been fucking in there wrecking shit. Why don't you sit in that chair, mate? Look how nice that chair looks.
I tell you what, it's amazing what you can see in some pubs though. Like when I went to London for a few days, going into some of the old pubs around there though, they've got like loads of old plaques on the walls and old, you know,
Yeah.
random ass items and whatnot. It's always interesting what you see. Unfortunately, no
Yeah.
cursed chairs I saw, but you know, maybe one day. Wherever that is.
Yeah. Well, there's... Yeah, that used to have all the stuffed animals there as well. I remember going there when I was pretty young, and when they used to have this huge collection of stuffed animals and like preserved animals. It was fucking creepy. Like they had this downstairs area, and they had like this big display room. They had like stuffed like polar bears and shit in there, and then there was an upstairs bit that was like in an attic, and they had these fucking creepy ass displays. Right, it was like basically a dinner scene, so like a table set out, and all of the people were puppies. So to make it, they drowned a bunch of puppies, stuffed them, dressed them in these little outfits, and positioned them around this dinner scene. And there was another one with kittens. So there were two separate ones that, yeah, it was fucked up. But this is apparently a thing they used to do. They used to just be like, oh, well, we might as well drown these kittens so we can make them into a display of a bunch of kittens having a little meal together. It's like, what the fuck is that? And there was another thing where it was like a bunch of mummified cats that had been like stuck under floorboards, so they were in like the position where they were trying to get out, but they'd been like stuck in that position, and they were like grey, like they looked like they were made out of ash, but they were just mummified. It was really fucking weird. And they also had like a fucking bin. I think it was a bin. It was a bin, but it was an elephant's leg. Just like weird shit like that. But they sold all their collection to like someone in America, so that's why it's not there anymore. But they used to have so much stuff there. They used to have like I remember they had like a 3-legged duckling and like a 2-headed lamb that was born and they'd preserved. It's fucking weird. Yeah, such a weird place. Like, even like now without it, it's just like, yeah, it's a creepy haunted place. But then back then, it's like, yeah, it's a creepy haunted place, and there's a bunch of fucking creepy stuffed animals there. Yeah, it was weird.
There used to be a stuffed tiger's head in a pad store. I never actually saw it myself. The owner of the pub that I used to work at basically told me, I think it was the ship in there, but they had like a old, like over 150-year-old stuffed tiger's head, and it hung on its wall for years and years, and then eventually it got destroyed by some bellend that was on his stag do. it basically got destroyed. Right. So
yeah. Well, I used to work in a ship inn, because there's a ship inn in every town in Cornwall.
Yeah.
And the one that I worked in had a few ghost stories, actually. And they had a bunch of shit hanging up on the walls. They had, like, like on a ship you have like the ropes, like the rigging.
Yeah.
And there's like the big bit that like anchors it onto like the boat itself, that like the rope ties around. It's like this huge like wood and metal thing. They had one of those like hanging up on the wall, and I never trusted the fucking thing. I always thought it was going to fall down and kill someone because it looked so dangerous. There was also like a little set of shelves with like a bunch of like old like brass stuff in there, and one day that fell open and a bunch of like old brass shit just fell on some people. But there was supposedly ghosts there as well. And there was, I know of 2 people that died while staying there. Also.
That's pretty spooky.
Yeah. I can, yeah.
I can tell.
Well, in the same town. Oh yeah, sorry. In the same town, there's another pub where they have a woman in white that's associated with it, who would apparently take the form of a white rabbit and sit on the windowsills of the pub to be like, it's called the Jolly Sailor. Yeah, and that place has a lot of ghost stuff. Yeah, but that's supposedly a lady in white, and she has the story of she was waiting at the altar and her husband didn't turn up, so she killed herself in the sea or something around that area. But that's like a very common lady in white story, so I don't know how factual any of that is. But it's interesting, yeah.
Have I ever talked about on the podcast about the spooky ghost stories from the pub that I used to live at in Padstow?
No.
Nope, I don't remember you saying anything about that.
No, you haven't.
Rhys, you came to stay at the pub with me once, a couple of nights, didn't you?
Several times I came over and stayed there, yeah.
So basically, the pub that I worked at in Padstow, I lived upstairs. I worked as a KP, second chef, etc. But I lived upstairs, and the pub itself, it's obviously like everything in Padstow, it's really old. Used to be 3 old fishermen's cottages that were merged into a large building. Well, all the walls were knocked down between them, just merged. Anyways, it's loads of stories that used to be an old smuggler's den and everything. Like in the main, I suppose you could say, in the main bar, and behind it there's like a trap door on the bottom. It's completely sealed.
That's interesting.
But stories are that it's an old tunnel system that they used to use to just climb in and run along underneath with all the stuff. But like, if you type your foot on it, you could hear it was hollow and that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was completely sealed by the previous owners. It's actually owned by St. Austell Brewery, but obviously people rent it from them and whatnot.
The place I used to work was St. Austell Brewery as well. They own a lot of pubs in Cornwall. It's either them or Weatherspoons most of the time.
Apparently the current owner at the time, Tim his name was, or was it Tom? I can't remember now.
I think you said it was Tim.
Him and his missus, him and his wife, like hired a like a paranormal investigator to come in. Or what's the name for like somebody that supposedly communes with the dead?
Like a psychic?
Yeah.
Or a medium,
yeah, like a medium, yeah, that's it. so they had their own little sort of experiences there of things falling off the shelf, shattering for no random reason when nothing had been disturbed. So they hired this medium to come in, and she was walking throughout the pub saying, you know, apparently there's plenty of sort of spooky action going on. She goes upstairs, and upstairs there was, I think if I remember correctly, you had like a front room that was upstairs, like an upstairs lounge that nobody used. It was just full of storage stuff. You had 2 bed and breakfast rooms, and then you had two other rooms, which one I stayed in, and then the main head chef stayed in one next to me. And then at the very opposite my room, you had the stairs that went into the attic, which was another bedroom, which was completely, it weren't empty, it was full of like loads of little bits of junk, but it had a little trap door into another part of the attic, and in there it was just dusty, full of old junk that nobody ever touched. Apparently the medium told him, my room, the room that was at the top of the stairs of the attic and the extension of the attic, they were very like bad rooms, especially the attic room. And she said, whatever you do, never open the door, whatever you do, because obviously you start doing bad things. So when they told me this story, I got very curious, like a muppet. I didn't believe it at the time anyway, but one night, so the chef was in his room just chilling out. I thought I'm gonna sneak into the attic and have a little look-see. So I go up there.
Have you seen Chef though?
Well, I had 2 chefs at the time, so well, you know, one after the other. So, but yeah, I went into the attic, turned on the light. I just thought, oh, it doesn't seem too bad. It's a nice long room, just loads of little bits. I opened the attic extension, and yeah, she weren't kidding when she said it was dusty. Like nobody had been in there for years and years. There was no lights or nothing in there. There was no wiring that went through it. Because all the wiring for the lights ran just along the ceiling. So I thought I'll just close that and not bother with it. Anyway, a few sort of days later, the chef is going to Somerset to see his family. So this is my first time being in the pub on my own. So they locked up at about 11, had the final orders, etc., and shut up. I go down, raid the kitchen fridges as you do.
Yeah, as
have a
we
lot of
do.
barbecue ribs, as we did, yeah, naturally. Anyways, going before I was to go upstairs to go into the kitchen, you had to walk past the behind of the bar, like a doorway where behind the bar was, and it was pitch black, and you couldn't go down there because it was all alarmed, motion sensors. But there was no door to block that door or anything, so when you walked past it was just pitch black, and you just felt real like something or somebody was watching you constantly every time you walked past. It was awful, weren't it?
Yeah, it was really, really bad. I remember going down once by myself to get a drink, and I was like, yeah, that's not nice at all.
Like the worst bit, I would do all my washing because the washing machine was right in front of that doorway under the stairs. And I would do all my washing during work time. I would never do it in the evenings when they were closed. It was terrifying. Anyways, I go upstairs after raiding the kitchen. I think it was after a night of playing some Battlefield with Rhys. Anyway, I go to bed, sort of thing, and I wake up during the night, and my tap's running. I had a little tap in my bedroom, by the way. But yeah, my tap's running, my sink. I'm like, that's a bit weird. And I thought it must be pressure in the old pipes or something. So I turned it off. And just as I was dozing off, I distinctly remember just hearing a really loud sort of thump noise, and the tap turned on again. And this time I sort of cursed myself. I went, no, for fuck's sake, you know, I've really screwed it tight so it won't undo itself. Jump back in bed again, and by this point anyway, you know, I'm a bit spooked out. Then I hear what sounded like somebody running outside on the streets, because it's an old historic building. It had all the old original windows, and you could hear everything from them. So it sounds like somebody's running outside. and that sort of just woke me up slightly. And then it just felt like out of nowhere somebody kicked the bottom of the bed, and I absolutely shat my pants. I swear I physically felt the whole bed shift, and I shat my pants, man, literally.
Mm.
I put the covers over my head, and all I remember is just bricking it the whole night, and I just woke up the next morning, like, peeping out from my covers. I was covered in sweat, I was drenched, man. That was
Yeah.
the most traumatizing night that I've ever had in my life. Hands
Yeah.
down, that was terrifying. Do you remember anything spooky from the pub, Bruce, apart from the dark abyss of the
Well,
doorway?
one of the nights when you'd already went asleep and I was just laying there awake, I think on my phone or whatever, I heard what sounded like someone walking down the hallway outside the bedroom door.
Did you wake me up for that? I can't remember.
I can't remember whether I woke you up or not, but I heard someone, and then because like we was literally there by ourselves, so
Yeah.
after hearing that I was just like, okay, I'm going to try and go to sleep now.
That reminds me of my old house when Ollie used to come round, and we'd hear footsteps outside my bedroom door. Yeah.
I used to hear plenty of footsteps outside, and I used to just try and ignore that. I do remember that.
Yeah.
My second spook, like big spook in that pub, was when the alarms went off one night. And I thought, oh shit, why's the alarm gone off? So I opened my bedroom door, I sort of peek outside, into the corridor. Just to the right of my door there was a massive mirror, like a big wall mirror that just reflected the whole hallway. That was always spooky, but anyways, popped my head out the door, so I'm creeping down along the corridor. Creeping down the stairs. It was a fair old walk, because I had to walk the length of the pub to get to the other side to walk down the stairs to walk back down. So I'm going to where the open bar is, where the door is that looks into the behind it, and I'm just thinking like, I can't hear nobody or anything like that. Pop me head, just peek around the corner, and immediately I just hear a glass shatter, and I shat my pants again. By this point, the landlord must have gotten a call on his phone that his alarm was going off. He had it set up so somebody would call you, like somebody from India or something like that, like an automatic thing. Anyways, at this point, I was standing outside of the pub, and he rolls up. He goes, "Oh, you're right, mate. What's going on?" I said, "Mate, there's something going on in your pub. Bloody glass shattered and everything while the alarm was going off. I'm not going any further in there. You can go in." So he went in. He found the glass shattered. There was a couple of glasses that were shattered. They'd just fallen off the shelf, but where all the other glasses were, they were quite far back from the shelf, from the edge of the shelf.
Yeah.
I still put it down to try and scientifically explain it to myself, like, I don't know, gust of wind or something. It's an old, decayed building. The bloody thing's probably fallen to bits. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's just weird that these two incidents happened after I was looking in the spooky attic where she told the owners never to ever go in or open the doors, etc. Huh? Probably, yeah.
Yeah. Was there a chair up there as well?
Well, luckily no. Luckily no.
And a vase and a fertility statue.
See, I think I remember actually being on games with you that night when the alarm went off.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure I remember like you disappearing for a while and then coming back, like saying about the alarm going off and then having to wait for the guy to come.
Might have done it. This is like, how many years ago now?
Yeah, it was
Like,
about
11 years ago, isn't it?
It was like
It's when we were in college.
It's like 2012-ish. 2011,
We were still in
2012.
college at the time, yeah. I think I do have a brief memory of playing Battlefield, and I was like, oh shit, the alarm's going off. Something along those lines.
I need to quickly go to the toilet.
You are. Yeah, man.
Oh, I was going to tell some of my stories from the pub, if that's alright, or I can do that another time.
Yeah.
We
Alright,
can
go
have a
toilet.
quick little... Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So should I stop recording for the minute, or just keep it?
No,
recording?
keep it recording.
Oh mate, just talking about that story made every hair in my body stand. I remember that. It was horrible, man.
Yeah, see, I remember the good times there though, like as
Yeah,
you
we
say,
had some good
sneaking
times.
down into the kitchen, getting some fucking lasagna or fucking whatever else it was.
Do you remember us having our celebration in the kitchen because we thought, you know, the world was going to win because it was 2012?
Oh yeah, because I came over for the New Year's.
Yeah. We was just there doing the countdown, weren't we? Counting down to 1
Yeah.
o'clock or whatever, to midnight, and then we were like, oh, the world hasn't ended.
I was hoping to wake up the next day, fucking see zombies or some shit.
We would have been well prepared.
Ooh.
When we end this episode, I'll do honourable mentions of the cursed items that didn't make it. Yeah, how many did I have? I came across like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I came across like 10 different items. Tutankhamun's tomb didn't make it. The Iceman didn't make it. James Dean's little bastard didn't make it. A phone number. So there's quite a few that didn't make it, but the other.
I think those ones are the more common known sort of ones. Anyway,
Yeah, I
aren't
wanted
they?
to go for some unknown ones. Yeah, especially Tutankhamun. Everybody knows that.
Yeah, well, the car one as well. That's quite known. So.
You talking about
Other
Holy
cursed
shit.
sort of objects which
Yeah,
didn't make it on the Chris's list.
Yeah, when we end
Yeah.
this episode, I'll do a little honourable mentions to the other cursed items. The sort of well-known ones, but I wanted to go for the more unknownish ones. So.
yeah.
Yeah, because I think on
Yeah,
this
that's
list
fair.
you only mentioned one which
4.
Jordan knew of already and one I knew of already. Ollie apparently didn't know any.
That's not too bad.
Yeah, I heard about that. The crying boy picture ages ago on the Ricky Gervais podcast.
I heard about it once from my mother because
Yeah.
she's like pretty superstitious.
Yeah.
And she said, "Oh, I remember reading years ago about haunted paintings in the sun or something." I was like, "Oh, all right."
Yeah, it was definitely a big thing at the time. Ugh. Are you guys still recording?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. Didn't know if...
I think it's going to be
we'll
cut
stop
anyway,
here
little
and
bits,
then-
isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
It's easier for it to bits to be cut if it's all at the same
Yeah.
time where we're.
Mate, you got to keep the screaming. You got to keep the screaming goat sound on my phone. Oh, that made me jump. That when it screamed, it proper made me jump while I was telling my tale. Oh.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck? I thought someone had played the sound effect, like they had like a soundboard or something.
Oh man, good times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got quite similar experiences with a pub as well.
I don't know what it is, man. I know they're old and you expect stuff, but you just get proper horrifying stories from them normally, don't you?
Yeah.
I think it's just like probably because of the past history of it, etc. All sorts of things go down in pubs.
It's also pubs are like the places where a lot of people gather, so that's a lot of energy.
Yeah.
And they see like buildings and that hold the energy, and that's what paranormal spooky stuff is.
Yeah. Quite often they're one of the few buildings that consistently stays the same. Because pubs usually stay a pub, whereas like, you know, if it's a restaurant, it will change hands a lot as they go out of business or whatever, or it'll be like a different type of shop or something. But pubs tend to, not so much now, I feel like actually they're starting to die out a bit now. But it used to be that like pubs would stay open consistently because there's always people going there.
Yeah.
So it's
You're right with that. They are dying a bit, aren't they, pubs?
It's just because it's so expensive now. It's much cheaper to just buy some drink and bring it home than it is to go to a pub.
Yeah, see, that's what I prefer doing. That's why I don't really go pubs.
Yeah,
I go as
I
like a
do
New
prefer
Year's
that.
Eve sort of thing.
Yeah.
But
There's a
And on shit like New Year's, they like ramp the prices up as well.
yeah, but I don't know.
there's an Indian restaurant near me. We should all go at some point because they allow you to bring your own drinks as well,
What?
which is pretty cool.
Right. So they have they haven't got like a drinking license, so they let you bring in your own. Yeah,
I think that's pretty cool. So
yeah, I've heard of that before. There was a restaurant where I used to live that did that.
and it's a stunning. Well, it's not a stunning place, but the food's stunning.
Yeah.
What food did you say it was?
An Indian restaurant. They do a coconut rice there. It's amazing, honestly. You have that with like a tikka masala or something. It's stunning.
I like korma.
Korma.
Like a good coconutty korma.
Don't really like Indian food too much.
How about Chinese? They're doing all-you-can-eat Chinese buffet. The
love-
water margin is
love-
literally next to Quick Fit. So.
I fucking love Chinese.
Yeah,
Chinese.
the water margin is amazing. Didn't you come to it with us?
Nope.
Ah, damn it. Well, hopefully after this pandemic, after the lockdown ends, hopefully soon, maybe the government might do a eat out thing again.
Yeah.
Because I rinsed the hell out of that. It was really good. It was cheaper than buying food.
It's interesting, that thing with Boris Johnson actually taking blame today. I was like, about fucking time.
What was he do today?
Well, because I think it's like today or recently, the deaths in this country reached 100,000 from COVID. And he actually like publicly apologized and said that it was his fault. It's like, well, yeah, obviously it's the government's fault because they're the ones who aren't funding them. So
yeah,
and apparently,
no.
Do you remember that thing I was saying about with the 2 vaccines, where if you didn't receive the other one within a certain amount of time, it wouldn't actually be effective? Bunch of people died because they only had the first one, they've got the second. So that is a thing that literally happened because of their incompetence.
They've extended lockdown now to March at least, haven't they? If I remember.
Well, yeah.
To March 8th or something. That's when they'll start releasing the next plans or something.
Yeah. Larry King died the other day from COVID.
Yeah, bloody Larry King.
Yeah, that was from COVID. So, I mean, the people who are like, oh, it's fake, it's conspiracy, it's like, I mean, look at all the people that have died. How can you say it's fake?
At my work, because I've had to isolate for a week, our MLT tester got COVID, as I told you all in Facebook. I questioned him about it the other day. I was saying, so, what's it like? Can you explain to it? He said it's the worst thing he's ever had before. He said he'd rather have another heart transplant. Yeah, because he had a heart transplant, so.
Right.
Or he had something done to his heart, and he said that was painful. But he said this COVID thing was out of this world. He basically slept through most of it. But he said from the very first day that he started getting the heavy symptoms, he was just constantly, like, his breathing was like he's just finished jogging. He was constantly breathing like it was very shallow. He slept for like over 24-hour periods, he said. He lost a shed load of weight as well.
Well, yeah, you would do if you were sleeping that much. You're not eating, are you? As well.
Like if he had to go downstairs or anything, he basically said he thought he was going to die just moving up and down stairs. He just lost all strength in his body and that.
It's crazy. It is crazy.
But then when he came in on Tuesday, you won't think anything was wrong with him. He looked just all right as he left, basically. But he said it's like a hit and run. You know, it hits you hard and fast, and then just if you obviously pull through it, it disappears fast as well, sort of thing. So, although it affects everybody differently, doesn't it? So there's some people that have been reported to been on like life support for 6 months on a ventilator, etc. Whereas some people, like our supervisor, him and his wife, didn't have any symptoms at all. They caught it when she went in for childbirth, when she was giving birth, and they both had it and they had no symptoms. So.
Well, there are just some people that just have are asymptomatic to certain things.
Yeah. I take it Ollie's.
Are you back now, Ollie?
Yeah. Oh, hello.
Hello. Yeah, we kept on recording. Did you keep recording, Ollie? Okay, cool.
Okay. So Jordan, I believe you have some tales of spookiness about your pub?
Yes, Chris, thank you for passing it to me. Yeah, so quite similar to what Chris's story was. I worked in a pub for like 5 or 6 years or something. Something like that. And when I started working there, I remember like sometimes we'd have like a lock-in, like after finish, like the boss and his partner would come down and we'd have a few drinks like after hours. And his partner told me about the like weird shit that happened there, basically. So 2 people had died there within like 10 years at the time. One of them was an elderly guy who like died in the bath. I don't know if I think it was just like they didn't really know it was like natural causes. I think it's just like old and he just happened to die there. And the other one was a guy who committed suicide. He hung himself in one of the rooms, and I didn't know what room it was, but I've actually slept in that room. And it's weird. It's a weird room because it's like a tiny little room. Because I think that place has like 7 rooms. No, the room that we stayed in, because we were in that room together that had the 2 beds, right? Yeah, that's like on the top floor. It was like on the first floor, like right at the back. There's like this little tiny room, and it has like a skylight there. I think that's how he hung himself. I'm not too sure. But yeah, there's like this big skylight, and then it's like this tiny little room. But I used to, when I was manager, I remember I had this one day where I was like, I'm really fucking tired. So I like, you'd have to come in early and like set the bar up before the other employees arrived. So when my like co-worker came, I was like, I'm gonna go have a nap for a bit. And I was like, right, I better see what rooms are actually available. So I looked on the room list. I was like, oh, it's just this room's that is available. And then I went up there. I was like, oh, I'll just have a nap in there. But at the time, I didn't realise that was the room where someone had apparently hung themselves. And I told my co-worker about it. They were like, oh yeah, that's the room where someone committed suicide. I was like, oh, cool, thanks. I'm glad I went and slept there. But yeah, a bunch of the cleaners used to say that they would see stuff. Like, if they were cleaning like on the first floor, there was like a staircase up, and they would always say that they felt like there was someone stood there watching them on the staircase. Like whenever they were going between rooms, so they were like always like hurrying between the rooms, so they didn't have to be like in the vision of the staircase. But yeah, it was a weird place. Apparently, this is what someone told me. I don't know how true it is, but apparently a long time ago, that place was the location of a gallows. Supposedly, they say that that used to be where they'd actually like carry out executions a long time ago. So, God knows if that's got any actual truth to it.
When you slept in that room, did you see or hear anything at all, or was you just too knackered?
Well, no, because it was during the day.
Yeah.
It wasn't really spooky or anything, but I don't know if I'd sleep in there at night, knowing that. But at the time, I didn't know about it. If I did, I probably wouldn't have just casually gone in there for a nap. But yeah, it's kind of weird to think about. Like, oh yeah, I just casually slept in a room where someone once killed themselves. So, okay, nice.
Wow.
But it's definitely one of those things where, because these buildings are so old, especially in Cornwall, they're all like these really old, like fisherman village pubs that people have gone to for like hundreds of years. Yeah, Porpero supposedly has a lot of shit. The what, sorry? Right. Oh, is there? That's interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of places in Cornwall like that, though, isn't there? Really, I bet if you went to like any pub and asked them about ghost stories, I'm sure like every pub would have something to tell you if they felt comfortable telling you. You know.
Yeah.
It'd be an interesting thing to do, just like go around a bunch of like little Cornish fishing villages and just ask the pub owners about ghost stories and see how many you could find.
Yeah, that could make for a good little episode, couldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we could interview people and ask them about it. Be interesting. Yeah, whenever that may be. Yeah. I want to do some camping for sure. Feels like forever since I've gone camping. I used to enjoy doing that. Yeah. We have to film stuff while we're there, though.
Yeah, I just want to give a little honourable mention to some cursed things that I didn't obviously talk about. Tutankhamun's tomb, there's loads of apparent curses with that place, with his tomb in that. The Iceman, which was discovered. James Dean's little bastard, a Porsche car that's apparently killed loads of people that have all different parts of it. The phone number 359 888 It's an unused number now. No, that was like a European number, if I remember correctly. And then I'll butcher the pronunciation here. The Ring of Senecianus or something. It's supposed to be a cursed ring that apparently Tolkien based the Lord of the Rings on. But I barely. When I did research about that ring, a lot of the info I could find, there wasn't really a curse per se. It was more of an inscribe. What do you call it? An inscribe on the actual ring itself.
Inscription.
Inscription, that's the word. Yeah, there was an inscription on the ring apparently, which just read about a curse, and that was it. So.
Yeah, interesting.
But no, it's been a really good, fun episode. I've enjoyed.
Yeah, well done, Chris. I think
hearing
that's like
and telling.
The most research I've ever heard you do.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, you didn't research the Kraken when we were doing an episode about Bigfoot. So.
Oh yeah, I've lost that script now. I don't know where the Kraken is. Damn.
No, I used to live there, didn't you, Rhys?
Well, I used to live like 5 minutes away, pretty much.
Yeah, I used to live.
Was you the haunting?
Yeah, Rhys haunted the place.
Definitely.
Cool, man. I hope you've enjoyed it.
Alright.
See you, shackers.
Adios.
Bye.
Look out for vases. Don't forget to like and subscribe, or the chair and the vase will come for you.
My OnlyFans link's in the description.
Yeah, go check it out. Chris got some real good content on there.
Bye.
Bye.